Good afternoon. Thank you very much. The European Parliament's 2022 Sakharov Prize for Freedom of Thought has been awarded to the brave Ukrainian people, represented by their president, elected leaders, and civil society. I'm sure you all follow the ceremony in the hemicycle. At today's press conference, the winners are represented by Yulia Payevska, founder of the Evacuation Medical Unit Angels of Tyra, Oleksandra Matvichuk, chair of the Center for Civil Liberties, and Ivan Fedorov, mayor of Melitopol. And before listening to them, President Metsola will make some introductory remarks.
Thank you very much. Good afternoon to you all. There is no one more deserving of this prize. The 2022 Sakharov Prize for Freedom of Thought belongs to the brave people of Ukraine. This award is for all those Ukrainians fighting on the ground, for all those Ukrainians who have been forced to flee, for all those Ukrainians who have lost relatives and friends, for all those Ukrainians who stand up and fight for what they believe in. This is also the first time that this prize has been awarded to the people of a country represented by their president, elected leaders, and civil society. And I thank Yulia Payevska, founder of the Evacuation Medical Unit Angels of Tyra, Oleksandra Matvichuk, chair of the Center for Civil Liberties, and Ivan Fedorov, mayor of Melitopol, for joining me here at this press conference. Your presence is a recognition that this prize goes beyond leaders. It is an appreciation of each and every single person in Ukraine, ordinary people who are defending your country, your liberty, your homes, and your families, the people who are risking everything to help others and also to help each other. We will never forget that the Ukrainian people are also risking their lives for Europe to safeguard the values we all believe in: freedom, democracy, and the rule of law. With this prize, the European Parliament wants to express its respect and admiration for all Ukrainians ultimately defending the freedom of thought. My message in the hemicycle was, and I will repeat it here, I know that the brave people of Ukraine will not give up, and I can reassure everybody that neither will we. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Mrs. Payevska, please, you have the floor.
Вітаю всіх. Це велика честь для мене отримати цю нагороду для всього народу України. Я особисто можу тут представити Збройні Сили України. Я є молодший сержант Збройних Сил України, волонтерську спільноту, поранених і в'язнів війни. Разом з Іваном ми можемо уособлювати цю категорію. Ну і також всіх українців, які надзвичайно віддано, щиро боронять нашу землю і вашу свободу. Я вдячна за цю відзнаку і від всієї України можу вам сказати, що якщо у вас будуть якісь труднощі, ви завжди можете розраховувати на підтримку України, наших Збройних Сил і нашого суспільства. Дякую.
Thank you very much. Mrs. Matvichuk, please.
I am a human rights defender, and at present, I and my other colleagues are doing our job in circumstances when the law doesn't work. Russian troops deliberately shelling on residential buildings, schools, churches, hospitals, attack evacuation corridors, manage filtration camps system, organize forcible deportations, commit murder, rape, torture, abductions, and other kinds of offenses against civilian population. There is no military purpose in doing this. Russians have only done these horrible things because they could. Russians attempt to break people's resistance and occupy Ukraine by the immense pain of civilian population. we document this pain, not just violations of Geneva and Hague Conventions. This war has a very distinct value dimension. This is not just a war between two states. This is a war between two systems, authoritarianism and democracy. And Putin tried to convince the whole world that democracy, rule of law, and human rights are fake values because they couldn't protect you during the war. We must break this circle of impunity, which Russians enjoyed for decades in Chechnya, in Moldova, in Georgia, in Mali, in Syria, in Libya, in other countries of the world. We must establish international tribunal and hold Putin, Lukashenko, and other war criminals accountable. The entire international system of peace and security couldn't stop Russian atrocities. That's why all Ukrainians ask for weapons. These 2 days, we heard that we are fighting not just for Ukraine, but for the Europe. If it's so, may I ask you a question? Why we still have ping-pong with Leopardo battle tanks? Why do my friend, Ukrainian defender, Andriana Susak, had to blow up on the mines in civilian car, while so many countries have armored vehicles in their storages? If authoritarian regimes cooperate with each other, democracies have support each other even better. It's very symbolical that this year, the brave people of Ukraine received the Sakharov Award, because people have a much greater impact than they even can imagine. And massive mobilization of ordinary people in different countries of the world can change the world history quicker than the UN intervention. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Mayor Fedorov, please.
I'm grateful for the award for all Ukrainian people. The most deserving for this award is a military, who choose our victory and defend European principles at cost of their life. Residents of temporarily occupied territories, who didn't give up and continue to resistance despite the terror. Temporarily relocated persons, who do not know if they will return homes because do not know if their house will survive in the deoccupation of all territory of Ukraine. I'm grateful to the President of Ukraine, Volodymyr Zelensky, for standing up for the Ukrainian people in the front of European leaders and all international communities and show an example of invisibility. Today, all European Union is preparing for Christmas and New Year, but Ukrainians preparing for a victory. While Christmas lights are lit in European cities, candles are lit in the Ukrainian cities due to blackout. But without light, we do not let the darkness of Russia into Europe. But we need more weapons. We need more military equipment to defeat our territories as quick as it possible. Every Ukrainian is fighting today. No one is give up. Everyone does everything to bring victory closer. After all, it is a matter of dignity and freedom, democracy and human rights for us, and we will stand until the end for our motherland, for the future of our children, and for the peace for European Union. This can be no political compromise where a crimes against in a whole nation. The life of the people on the temporarily occupied territories cannot be a bargain at cheap. So we must fight for the liberation of all territories of our country. And last, but very important, when we will win, we win together with the European Union. If we will lose, we lose together, because Ukrainians defense for our values. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. There is time now for some questions. Who would like to take the floor? Questions for the President, for the winners? Yes, please, the lady there.
Hello, Emma D'Souza, freelance journalist from Ireland. Can I just ask each of you to please maybe elaborate on what you would like to see from European leaders in terms of next steps? You've spoken about the fact that peace and security, international structures have not been able to prevent these atrocities. What do you think needs to happen next in Europe? Thank you.
I will
think they should start and then we're follow up with the European Council tomorrow.
I will start and my colleagues will continue. We need several things. We need weapons, sanctions, and justice, and then recovery. We need the strong voice of European Union, and especially European Parliament, that every day of delay of modern weapons to Ukraine resulted in numerous deaths, not only of Ukrainian defenders, but people on the occupied territories and people in deep rear. We need a strong voice of European Union and European Parliament itself that we need such level of sanctions which can stop the ability of Russian economy to feed this war and finance these atrocities. And we need justice, because all this hell which we now face in Ukraine is a result of total impunity, which Russia enjoyed for decades. It's become a part of culture. Russians believe they can do whatever they wanted. So we must establish international tribunal in order to bring accountable all Russians who committed these crimes by their own hand, as well as Putin and the rest senior political leadership and high military command. Thank you.
Before answering for your question, we need to look at a few months ago. By last 10 months, really, political situation in the European Union changed, in the European country changed. Now, many politics from European Union said that they want to give support to Ukraine. They want to see Ukrainian winnings. They want to liberate all occupied territories, but it not yet. And why now we doesn't liberate all our territories? For my opinion, because there is no a strong position. Because now we try to help Ukraine, but not to win, but not to lose. And it is very important. First of all, we need a strong position of all European countries. And thank you, President, for your leadership. Now we need to punish all crimes, because by the last 10 months, no one punished it. No one occupant, no one collaborant, but punishing it is very important, because if we doesn't punish, it can be repeated again and again. And of course, as a friendly relationship between European Union and Ukraine, we need to build Ukraine to zero together. Better Ukraine, best Ukraine for our future. Thank you.
We have to build a new Ukraine. Цієї ночі загинув мій друг. Цієї ночі. А сьогодні ранком російський безпілотник розбив будинок недалеко від мого будинку, там, де мешкаю я. Це практично центр Києва. Прямо зараз гинуть мої побратими і посестри. Кожна хвилина вдається нам дуже високою ціною. Але ми змогли об'єднатися всередині країни і разом всією Україною долаємо ворога, і ми переможемо. І я прошу вас об'єднатися і допомогти нам в цій боротьбі. Давайте єднатися. Разом ми швидше переможемо, і тоді втрати будуть менші. Гинуть цивільні, гинуть військові. На це неможливо більше дивитись. Будь ласка, давайте працювати разом. Пані президент, дякую за підтримку.
Thank you very much. And as you could see today in the chamber, that support stands very strong. It was also important to recall of the powerful message that President Zelensky made to us on the 1st of March in the plenary, which he has made again today, of the importance of the role of Ukraine and its path towards Europe. Why do we say this? Because Ukraine has looked to Europe as its home, and it is now up to us to continue to fling our doors wide open. Tomorrow there is the European Council. If you ask us whether it will be successful or not, I say I would really like to hope so. I am proud of the decision that will be taken tomorrow by this Parliament of the 18 billion euros macro-financial assistance to Ukraine. That was made possible. That means the funding will be available at the beginning of January. I look forward, and we have been pushing this for a long time, for the 9th package of sanctions to be adopted. We were, yes, the first to call for serious accountability to be held accountable for the crimes committed. When last month this Parliament adopted a resolution condemning Russia and its actions, we were targeted with one of the most sophisticated cybersecurity attacks we had ever experienced. Our message, or our choices, are two: either we stop or we continue. And as you have heard from the testimonials of my friends and colleagues who share the stage with me, is that not only will we continue, but I believe we have no choice. This is my message that I will put to the European leaders tomorrow, from the position of, yes, we are still too slow in delivering weapons. You mentioned Leopard 2 tanks, but we also need to continue focusing on air defense. You mentioned sanctions. This is important. You mentioned justice, what comes next, and reconstruction. We also mentioned this morning demining. This is something that I was asked to push already on the 1st of April when I visited Kiev, that there was need for help in demining equipment. European governments, member states have this equipment. Let's make sure that we continue to send. At the same time, we have to also cover, and this is my responsibility together with my colleagues, the social and economic impact of this war on our citizens. And this is where we are working in this Parliament. We will work tomorrow and also in the weeks and months to come to continue to push for keeping inflation under control, but also for us to finally uncouple ourselves from Russia for gas, when compared to the 24th of February, when we realized that we had looked away for far too long, that we had taken cheap gas for granted for far too long. We have learned those lessons harshly. The alarm bells were set and we had to take quick decisions. I think we managed to stay united, but we have to continue to stay united as democracies in order to help fellow democracies win this war that is completely illegal and unjustified.
Second question. Yes, please.
Una domanda in italiano per la Presidente Metsola, per la RAI. Il Presidente Zelensky l'ha ringraziata per il suo viaggio in Ucraina. Cosa ricorda di questo viaggio?
Era il 1° aprile, allora 5 settimane più o meno dopo l'invasione del 24 febbraio. Era una visita dove io volevo andare per dare non solamente la solidarietà del Parlamento, ma anche un messaggio di speranza, una promessa che noi non lasceremo mai il fianco dell'Ucraina. Quando sono entrata nel Parlamento ucraino, il Verkhovna Rada, ho visto i politici, i nostri colleghi, che io ho indirizzato ancora una volta ieri, che facevano delle leggi, delle decisioni politici e che erano completamente uniti in fare battaglia con questa invasione. Io ho promesso a loro che io non lascerò mai la loro lotta. L'ho ripetuta al presidente Zelensky quella serata là e poi abbiamo cominciato a vedere le immagini di Bucha, le immagini di Irpin. Era quella giornata, il 1° aprile. Per me quella giornata rimane nella mia esperienza della lotta che noi dobbiamo fare per gli ucraini, perché non dobbiamo farla solamente per loro, ma dobbiamo farla per tutti noi, perché Putin non ha smesso nel 2008, non si è smesso nel 2014 e non smette oggi. Quello che forse non sapevo allora è che eravamo pronti a essere così rapidi in approvare, quella era la posizione del Parlamento il 1° marzo, che l'Ucraina, il posto dell'Ucraina è nell'Unione Europea. Non immaginavo che a giugno tutti i governi erano nella possibilità di fare esattamente la stessa cosa. Non immaginavo neanche che oggi siamo nella posizione, almeno io spero, di adottare il 9° pacchetto di sanzioni. Questo è un esempio dell'unità dell'Unione Europea, del leadership, della responsabilità che noi come politici dobbiamo prendere, spiegare e effettuare. È per questo che il messaggio di questo Parlamento, è così come avete visto la plenaria oggi, è che non siamo solamente al fianco, ma che prendiamo decisioni, che facciamo la politica e anche siamo coraggiosi di dire le cose che dobbiamo dire in questo Parlamento, nella Casa di Democrazia.
Thank you. Next question, please. Yes.
My name is Csaba Lukács. I am from an independent newspaper from Hungary. And my question is for all participants who would like to respond. In your opinion, who is the weakest link at the moment among the EU countries or EU politicians about supporting Ukraine?
Perhaps I could start. I don't, I have never been in a situation where I compare countries versus another. My role as European Parliament President is to seek consensus and to seek unity. It has not always been easy, and I don't only say this in this context, but for every decision we take, for this decision we have taken, and for decisions that we have ahead of us, whether they are on the Green Deal, whether they are on the digital transition, whether they are on migration legislation, whether they are on defence, whether they are on creating of an energy union. But what I can say is that with negotiation, with firm principles and with a firm standing, we have managed to bring consensus around the table. That is what I want to look at this crucial meeting that will take place tomorrow with the attitude of optimism and positivity. Why do I say this? Because that would be exactly what Putin does not want us to do. He does not want us to be united. He does not want us to blame each other. He wants us to bicker with each other. I think that willingness is still there. It is a bottom-up willingness, if I can say. It is a willingness that we have seen from our citizens who are very pro-European, who need European Union to take decisions just like we did during the pandemic, who need us to take decisions in energy, who need us to be firm on the rule of law, this is important, who need us where necessary to impose the conditionality when the rule of law is breached. But the unity is essential and has been seen and will continue to be seen. That is something that I will plead for tomorrow, because this is why I'm sharing this stage. This is why the appeals that we have heard today is precisely for that unity to continue. This is a very sensitive time, and this Parliament is on the side of those who will work towards such unity.
If it's possible, a small add. Now Ukraine is example. We united, however, all Ukraine, all citizens of Ukraine. There is no politics. We all united. And the same position now we see from European Union, united to help our citizens, united to support Ukraine. Maybe something not so quickly so how we want, but all European Union united with Ukraine with values, and it's a main.
Thank you. I would like to use this opportunity to express a sincere gratitude to the all people in different countries and their political leadership as well for support which we receive in this very dramatic part of our history. Ukrainians will remember for ages who will stand with us. And the truth is that we are grateful, but we need more. In order to defeat Putin and stop this war in Europe, we need more weapons, more sanctions, we need justice, and as I finished in my previous comments, recovery.
Кожен допомагає, скільки вважає за потрібно і скільки може. Ми не беремо на себе сміливість судити чи засуджувати будь-кого. Ми вдячні за будь-яку допомогу. Будь-яку. І я надіюсь, що ні в кого, в жодної країни в світі більше не буде таких проблем. Я дуже надіюсь, що це остання війна людства такого масштабу з застосуванням такої зброї. Дякую.
Next question, please. Yes.
Ukrainian news agency Interfax Ukraine, Irina Sommer. Tomorrow, European Parliament will vote a resolution to recognize Holodomor as a genocide. What Russians are doing right now in Ukraine has all signs of this crime, genocide. Can we expect such a discussion in this House? Can we expect such a discussion in the international arena? And second question is, your colleague during discussion today mentioned that in the upcoming council, we can ask Mr. Macron what he meant when he is talking about guarantee for Russians. Can we expect that European Parliament can raise issue what kind of guarantee from Russians we can expect? Thank you.
So yes, there is the resolution that will be adopted tomorrow and the discussion. I think on this, the Parliament has also been very proactive. There has not been one plenary session since, even before actually the Russian invasion of Ukraine, where there was not a discussion that was related to the illegal, unprovoked and unjustified actions by Russia. For me, when somebody talks about what should happen, I always answer in the same way. We need to look for peace. Peace is always the end. But for me, peace without liberty, peace without freedom, peace without security is not peace. Peace with blackmailing is not peace. And I think that's the very least all citizens who live in countries that pride themselves on territorial integrity, on sovereignty, on democracy, on processes, is to expect from all their democratic partners around the world, but especially around the European Union.
This war has a genocidal character, and Kremlin openly stated that Ukrainian nation has no right to exist, that there is no Ukrainian state, that there is no Ukrainian language, there is no Ukrainian culture. So if we stop our resistance, it means that there will be no more us. That's why we have no choice. And as a human rights lawyer, I know that there are a lot of expert discussions whether or not we have enough evidence about deliberate erosion of Ukrainian identity in Ukrainian occupied by Russia territories and other signs in order to convince that this war has all sign of genocide. But I think that we have to discuss another question for current moment, because while this discussion is going on, the Kremlin leadership and Russian propagandists continue incitement to genocide publicly. And I'm afraid that we can reach the point when even the severe skeptics will have no doubt how we have to call this war. And I believe that we have to prevent this worst to happen.
Це майка. Тут написано Маріуполь. Це місто, де знищено 90% житлового фонду. Це помешкання простих людей. Я свідок. На моїх очах російська артилерія, Air Forces і палубна артилерія знищувала це місто планомірно, квартал за кварталом. На моїх руках помер 8-річний хлопчик. На моїх руках помирали цивільні особи, прості жителі Маріуполя, не військові, жодного стосунку не маючи до зброї. Я бачила трупи на вулицях міста, я бачила, як в мілких могилах ховали своїх рідних, своїх дітей, жителі Маріуполя. Я бачила жінку з трупом дитини, приблизно 6-7 місяців на руках. Вона сиділа на лавочці і не могла зрушити з місця. Уламок прошив голову дитині і жодної шкоди не завдав їй. Собаки таскали по місту кінцівки людей. Ці собаки колись були домашніми. Це є геноцид. Я свідок.
Thank you. I think there is still time for 1-2 more questions. The lady at the back of the room, please.
Christina Siganidou from Greek Public TV, RT3. Did the chamber need this uplifting moment of the Sakharov Awards at this present moment? This is the question. Did the chamber need this uplifting moment of the Sakharov Awards at this present crisis of identity of European Parliament?
I wouldn't. I presume that the persons who are on the stage with me don't understand the link that you are making, but I will answer you. I would not call today's event as uplifting. I would call today as a reminder that this Parliament is the beacon of democracy and a bastion of democracy, and I stand by that. And if today's movement was seen and the address by President Zelensky was heard and the demands by our friends and Ukrainian colleagues have been heard, is for us to do more to protect democracy, not only inside the European Union, but also outside, particularly in countries where those population are fighting for the very values that not only we take for granted, but the values that we protect at all costs. And I can give you my word on that.
Thank you. And the last question here, please.
Maybe I will also add to this question.
Sorry.
I think that this is a time to name the things what they are. The state which commit terroristic attack to civil infrastructure in order to deprive millions of Ukrainians of water, heat, electricity, internet connection, and other kinds of facilities during the winter is a state of terrorism. A state who forcibly deported Ukrainian children and provided forcible adoption of Ukrainian children just to brought up them like Russian citizens and erode their identity, commit the conscious policy of genocide. And in this war, we are fighting for freedom in all senses. And we are fighting for freedom to be independent and sovereign states. We are fighting for freedom to be Ukrainians and to have a right to develop our Ukrainian language and Ukrainian culture. And we are fighting for a freedom to have our democratic choice, like a chance to build a country where the rights of everybody are protected, government is accountable, judiciary is independent, and police do not beat students who are peacefully demonstrating.
Yes, please, your last question.
I'm Ukrainian journalist Marina Moisenko from independent TV channel *TV. I have a question maybe to members of Ukrainian delegation, but I must ask my question, but after speech of Tyra it's important and difficult to do. My question is about financial numbers of the prize. And maybe you have some plans or you are discussed about where you can invest this money. It's not extra money for Ukraine, of course, but maybe you have any idea how you can use the money of Sakharov Prize. Thank you.
Very fast, all monies and all supports that we have, our teams have, now we need to give to make as close as it possible our victory. And of course, all of us understand that now it's happened on the front line. That's why we need to go to give support for our militaries. We need to go give support as more as it possible, and not only this prize.
Perhaps my last word from my end is that everything that we should do is going towards the Ukrainian cause. Perhaps I should also mention and update you on the fact last plenary session here, we launched the Generators of Hope campaign that has garnered, together with Eurocities, a huge response from all countries of the European Union. Many cities have come forward and said, how can I help? And the European Parliament is doing its part, not only as co-legislator, but also as partner of the Verkhovna Rada and civil society in Ukraine. And I would also appeal to all of you in order to push your audiences to help more. Nothing can be, too much, is ever too much. Nothing is enough. There is more, and especially when we look at very dark weeks ahead with electricity being cut out, with Ukrainians not having access to heating, electricity and clean water. This is the least that we could start to help Ukrainians with when we are in our, let's say, sheltered environments over the next few weeks. That's what we should keep in mind each hour of every day. Thank you.
Thank you very much.